highlighting your wins externally. And the reason is that, there are a lot of things that we just take for granted. And we think that we'll just get the promotion by doing the work, but that's usually not the case. So, what does it mean to highlight your wins authentically? So, before I get started, I have a question for you. If you plant a seed, but you don't water it and you don't provide it any sunlight, then what would you think would happen to that seed? And please use your chat to say what would happen. So, the seed will not make it, it will not grow. Yeah, because if you don't provide it, any sunlight, any water, it will die, right? So, a lot of people have said it there that it will just give up. It will, die, and you will not see it bloom into a beautiful tree that it's supposed to be. So think of your career the same way. Hard work is the seed. So that is the requirement, the bare minimum requirement. And self-advocacy is the sunlight and water. So if you don't advocate for yourself and tell others about your work, it'll be very difficult for your hard work, which is your seed, to grow. Okay. So, a little bit about me. So, I've been in the industry for over 20 plus years. I'm an engineering leader. I worked in various industries from startups to Fortune 500. I worked in med tech. I worked in Oracle Identity Management, Workday, DocuSign, and most recently, I've also founded admitme.com, which is making college admissions easier. And I also host AI Unfiltered, which is a podcast on YouTube. And this is some of the reasons this is some of the ways I like to share what I have learned, so that I have learned some of the things the hard way. So I want to make it easier for others to, share that wisdom with you guys. So what does it mean to highlight your wins? What is the role of self-advocacy in the career, and how to advocate for yourself and get ahead? So we'll be covering these things and practical steps. So, what does it mean to highlight your wins? What is self-advocacy? So, when you hear this word self-advocacy, what comes to your mind? Can you type in the chat what comes to your mind when you think about self-advocacy? Uncomfortable, Mary? Yes, absolutely. Fight for yourself, sell yourself, bragging, being vocal, communicating your value, being your cheerleader, risky, standing up for yourself. Yes, all of those things, boasting. So you may think like, bragging, I saw that, boasting, um, ability to own that you bring to the table. Apollonia, that's what we want to bring to the table, right? But a lot of times it's uncomfortable to get there. So one thing I want to say is that when we think about self-advocacy, we should not think of it as bragging, all about me, tooting your own horn. That's not how it is. There's an art of doing it the right way, and you have to do it in a way that feels natural and authentic to you. Okay. So what does it mean? So it means the art is that you have to own your accomplishments. You already did the hard work. Now you have to show with your peers, to your managers, to your higher ups, what have you done? You have to be proud of yourself and your work. You have to share it with others, because no one is a mind reader. And you have to advocate for yourself, because if you don't do it, who do you think is going to do it for you? Okay. So data shows that self-promotion leads to getting hired, promoted, moving ahead in career. But if it, like, we know all of these things, we have data to prove it, right? Like, these are all the benefits. So what prevents us from doing it? What prevents us to water and giving sunlight to that seed of hard water? So what's holding us back is it's hard work is not alone is enough. Okay. And we have studies after studies, And men actually do more self-promotion than women. There is the feminine modest effect, which is that we naturally downplay our accomplishments. We think, oh, it's not a big deal. So think about it. Someone gives you a compliment. They say, oh, that dress looks beautiful on you. What do you say? Oh, this old thing, I had it in my closet. Or, hey, great job on that project. Oh, it wasn't much. Or, hey, I love your dish that you brought to the potluck. Oh, it didn't take me too much at all. So that's a modesty effect. We actually hold back our accomplishments. And you would think that as you get higher up in the roles, it will get easier for women, but it doesn't. 76% of women in senior executive roles struggle with self-promoting their work. And then we have the negativity bias. Oh, is it going to sound like bragging, or is it going to sound like, I'm tooting my horn, or, the negativity bias that's in our minds that, you could be doing nine things right, but if you did one thing wrong, and that will be playing over and over in your head. So these are some of the things. Still, there's a lot more, but these are some of the things that are holding us back to doing it in a way that feel natural to us. And this is a 5-year study by Sims that focused on salary increases. And it highlighted that those who were promoted most often and given the biggest salary increases did not necessarily turn out to be the most technically competent. Okay. So uh, that is the truth. Okay, so those who get promoted are not the most competent. It was those who were most willing to make whatever level of competence they had visible. So self-promotion plays a really, really important role in our careers, just like water and sunlight for the seed. Okay, so how do we self-advocate and get ahead? So if we know it's that important to do, then how do we do it? So first thing is the mindset. Okay. So we have to get over the fact that self-promotion is not bragging. Self-advocacy is not bragging. It's what Melanie has mentioned. It's communicating your value. Okay. And what Judy has mentioned, it making sure your voice is heard. Self-promoting, think of it as educating others about your work and accomplishments. Because guess what? Everyone is busy in their own world, thinking about their own problems. They don't have time to think about you, and especially your manager. He has like so much going on. So you have to keep reminding them, and you have to keep educating others about what you have accomplished, what is the impact that you have made. It is an important tool in your toolbox, and you need to use it. Okay, the second thing is, and I tell this to all my mentees and all my team members, keep an accomplishment log. Okay, there's different names for it. There's people call it brag sheet. It's a win folder, whatever you want to call it. But basically, it's an ongoing list of things that you have completed, and do it in whatever format you want. It could be pen and paper. It could be whatever note taking app that you use. It could be a Google Docs, Excel sheet, whatever. The important thing is to make sure at least once a week you write down what you have accomplished. And no one else is going to see it except you. So write down the accomplishment, but also write down the impact that you have made. For example, it helped this client, or it helped us win this account, or, we signed a renewal contract with this firm based on this work. So you have to write down that impact. And also, this is a good way because only you are looking at it. So when your 6 months review comes, when your yearly review comes, you have a list of things. So it is very, very important to do. And it helps you prepare for your one-on-ones. You're always ready. And it just becomes a habit. So at least do it once a week. I actually do it whenever I know I'm going to forget something I have delivered. If I worked with a particular team, or I have contributed to something impactful I want to remember, I'll just write it right away in my in that folder. And that way I have it. Speak up. Okay, so don't assume. No one is a mind reader. You have to become visible. Okay. So think about this. Assume you are your manager's manager, so two levels up. Okay. Put yourself in their shoes. So now you're meeting, that manager's manager is meeting one of the team members. Let's call her Rachel. And, maybe he or she sees Rachel like once every 3 months or 6 months, or maybe never, and maybe sometimes in a meeting. Do you think like that person, that two level up, is going to know who Rachel is, what she has accomplished, if they don't even know she exists? So you have to think from someone else's perspective. So this is a way of beating the feminine modesty effect. You think that everyone knows about the work you have done and they will speak for yourself. It will not, right? So do it, speak up. If you have a question, ask the question. If you have a point to add, ask the point, like make the point, even if you're agreeing with someone. But we think that, a lot of times, like it has happened to me. We think of something and we think like, oh, maybe it's not that important. And that like 2 minutes later, someone else makes the exact same point. So yes, you do have something to contribute. You do have something to add. So don't doubt yourself when that thought comes in your head, or a question comes in your head. Count to five and ask that question. Because if you wait more than 5 seconds, you're going to talk yourself out of it. Okay. And speak up in meetings, speak up in one-on-ones, uh, you know, reply to the emails. Like, let's say you're 2 levels up, someone sends you an email. And in that case, you can just reply to that email to that person. Don't have to reply all. But if there's valid points that you want to add, or if there's something you want to ask, so you have to get your name out there. Being invisible is not helpful. Okay? And then be your own friend. This I cannot emphasize enough. Please, please, please be your own friend, because we as women downplay our own accomplishments, but we have no trouble advocating for a friend. So if you have trouble advocating for yourself, think of yourself like, what advice would you give? What advice would you give your friend, your best friend? So think of like, make a person, like, create uh, create a persona and say, what advice would you give to that person? Okay. So make sure you give your friend that advice and take that your own advice. Okay. So how would you highlight the recent wins if your friend had achieved them? So think from that perspective, try it out, say it in the mirror and see what happens. Mentors and trustees. So self-promotion is not natural for many people. It wasn't natural for me, but it is a learnable skill. And one way to practice this is with mentors or your peers. And you can have mentors above you, below you, same level, whatever helps. This is your trusted group of your tribe, your people, that where you feel comfortable enough to talk about your accomplishments. And this is a great conference. You are surrounded by like-minded people. So you can form a group from here within, like, and then you can keep each other responsible. You meet whatever cadence you set up, twice in a month or once in a month, and then you talk about your accomplishments. You get comfortable talking about it. So you can, take this opportunity to continue networking with each other and be helpful to each other. Okay, and share knowledge. This is something Deepti was mentioning, and I would like to again highlight this. Share your knowledge. There are things that you know, okay? Even if it's like Slack groups, if the people are asking questions, there's internal forums within your company, there is external blogs, LinkedIn, Medium. So I have a Medium, I started writing on Medium, and I was like so scared the first time I wrote it, because I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to read it. But you know what? You do have something to share, because even if it helps one person in the whole world from something I have written, I feel like it's worth it. And trust me, you do have something to share, because everyone has a different perspective and viewpoint. And although it may be the same knowledge, the way you explain it, the way you bring your own viewpoint to it. So please, please share your knowledge. Okay. for yourself, for your self-promotion, but also to sharing knowledge with others. It helps others. So this is a quote from Guy Kawasaki. If you don't toot your own horn, don't complain that there is no music. So that's basically putting it very, very blatantly what I've just explained. So self-promotion and self-advocacy are important tools in your tool set, and you can use them to help your career grow. So to recap, you can start advocating for yourself in a way that feels authentic and true to you. Okay. So start with the right mindset. It's not bragging. It's you have to educate people. You have to remind them of what you have accomplished and what impact you have made it to the team. Make sure to write an accomplishment log and remind each other if you form a group to, remind each other, set a reminder on your phone once a week, do it on a Friday, do it on a Thursday, whatever works, but please, please start writing it. Speak up, okay? You do have a viewpoint. Don't talk yourself out of it. So speak up, be visible. And one of the most important things, please be your own friend, okay? Please, we are usually our own worst critics. It's time to be your own friend and be a little bit nicer to yourself. Um, have a group of mentors and trustees and peer groups like this conference and share your knowledge with others because you do have a viewpoint. Please share it with others. And let's not leave the seed of hard work without water and sunlight. You have already done the work. Hard work is the all of the hours you have put in your work. That is what the most of the time you have spent on. This is now just a garnish on the top. So let's not leave it out. Let's nourish our seed of hard work with self-advocacy so that we can grow our careers where and bloom it the way it needs to be. Okay. I don't know if I have like 2 minutes for questions, but feel free to connect me on LinkedIn, and I have all of the QR codes here. What's one skill that helped you become a better leader? There's a lot of different skills, but I was a really shy and introvert as a kid. I would actually wait for class to finish before I went and asked my teacher or professors any questions. So I gave myself a challenge when I started working that, I will not be afraid of speaking up. So one of the things that I tell everyone that I mentor is feel comfortable to ask questions. So I think that's one of the things the skills I had to remind self even now that ask questions because the way I think about it is, and so that I don't talk myself out of it, that if no one else gains from it, at least one person in the room, which is me, I will benefit for it. And that's good for the company because now I have a better understanding. But 99% of the time, it's actually the other people in the room also have the same question. So I would say get comfortable speaking up and asking questions. And I think with that, I'm out of time.
Thank you, Mamta, for that excellent talk about why we should be our own best friend or good friend. And the analogy that you made about your hard work is a seed and you have to water it, give it sunlight. That I've never heard that one before. That was really good. So thank you so much for sharing today with us.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone.